as promised, here is part 2 of digging in deeper to the connection of the First Lady of the U.S. Virgin Islands, Cecile DeWong, and Jeffrey Epstein. Here's some more things I found out. This is yet another lawsuit that I came across. These were all the plaintiffs that the Jane Does collectively, the survivors, had a civil lawsuit against. And look who's in it. Of course, First Lady Cecile DeWong and Stacey Plaskett. Now, this was ultimately dismissed because of jurisdiction issues. It was more of technicalities and procedural dismissal. Guess who was the judge? Does this guy look familiar at all? He was the judge for the Diddy trial. Anyways, her name was in that lawsuit a lot. These are allegations, but I have got to show you what I found. This is a trigger warning for SA, and it has not been proven guilty, okay? But this is what was in the lawsuit that Jane Doe described. In approximately 2003 or 2004, Epstein brought Jane Doe 4 to his office in Red Hook, St. Thomas. Epstein's office had 2 doors, one that led out to an open courtyard and the other to an area where defendant Cecile DeWong sat, with her desk positioned adjacent against the exterior wall of Epstein's office. There, Epstein grabbed Jane Doe 4 into his office from the courtyard entrance and SA'd her at his desk. The assault lasted about 10 minutes. When Epstein was finished, they exited through the other door where defendant Cecile DeYoung was sitting. Given her proximity, DeYoung heard the SA, yet she looked at Jane Doe 4 straight into the eyes from her desk and did nothing at the time or at any time afterwards. Given her proximity, it would have been impossible for her not to have heard the SA, and yet she did nothing with the information at the time. I want to go back to one of the depositions in the other lawsuit, JP Morgan Chase versus U.S. Virgin Islands. They interviewed somebody that was a local, and they asked, "Were you aware that Miss DeWong worked for Mr. Epstein?" And her answer was, "I think everyone in the Virgin Islands knew that." Now, it goes even deeper. It wasn't just her. There was a whole network of people. Okay, so someone sent me this, and this is from CoreyDiggs.com. He's done a lot of investigating on it. Pause to read. So this is allegedly all the network of people on the U.S. Virgin Islands that was in cahoots with Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. And remember, he paid her salary and he paid for her kids' tuition for college. She was in charge of dispersing a lot of the money to some of these politicians. Here's one that says, "Hi, Jeffrey. I'm confirming with you that STC will send $13,000 to the Democratic Party for the benefit of Stacey Plaskett." Here's another email that she suggested Senator White signed the contractors agreement and the confidentiality agreement. But I asked him to change the dates on the first page of the contractors agreement to reflect August 23rd, 2013. We will need to get him a check for $10,000 by Friday. And Jeffrey said, approved. This really shows you that, you know, the inner workings, like they have to sign a confidentiality agreement, that she's making deals. She's trying to tell him to change the date on a contract. She's also talking about, I got a call from Brian Roach inaugural committee, and they asked for $25,000 donation to the inaugural events. They are trying to raise all the money privately. Please let me know your thoughts. So she's just trying to get everybody money. what we're finding out is not only did she help disperse his dirty money with all these politicians locally and federally, she also turned a blind eye from one of the accusations of Jane Doe 4 of some SA. And that's unacceptable. And I feel like nobody has been held criminally. Everybody's so focused on Democratic. Is this Democratic or Republican? Nobody's focusing on the true issue here, which is the survivors. And I feel like the survivors need to get some justice criminally. People need to go down and they need to be held accountable for it. In the justice system, not just civil lawsuits, criminal lawsuits. And I feel like she needs to be looked into. What do you guys think?